Okay, so this video is going to be a hot take and it's probably going to make you mad. But the book Harriet the Spy by Louise Fitzhugh, it is not a good book. Hi, my name is Jonathan and this is Mr. Pearson Talks Books. I'm an elementary school teacher who reads middle grade books so I can make recommendations. And usually on this channel, I talk about books that I think you should read. Today, I'm going to do something a little out of the ordinary, and I'm going to tell you about a book that you should not read. And that book is Harriet the Spy by Louise Fitzhugh. Now, this book is a beloved children's classic. It was a book that is recommended time and time and time again. It was written in the 1960s. It shows up in a lot of beloved classic books. So I thought, because I hadn't read it, I should go ahead and take the time to read it. I mean, middle grade book. I'm a middle grade booktuber. Should probably read it. So I did. It was the last book I read in 2025. And I want to tell you, it was an absolute miserable experience. Not because of the writing. The writing was fine. Not because of the story. Story was okay. There were parts that, especially toward the end, that I did not like. The reason I hated the book was because the title character, Harriet, is a terrible child. Now, people are going to excuse her and say, well, this was written in the 1960s. You can't compare something that was written 60 years ago to today. You give you all these different excuses as to why Harriet got to act the way that she did. But there's no excuse for who she was. So, if you are unfamiliar with the story, it is the story of a girl named Harriet who considers herself a spy. That's her whole goal in life, is to be a spy. And so what she does is she has a notebook and she goes around town and she writes down things that she observes about the people in her town. So there's a rich lady. She breaks into her house through the dumbwaiter. She spies on a delivery guy. She spies on the family who runs the shop that the delivery guy works for. She spies on her friends. She spies on the kids at school. She's always writing down things. And the things that she's writing down, they are not kind observations. They are harsh criticisms, talking about how dumb somebody looks, how fat somebody is, how lazy someone is, all of these things. She's always writing these down. And then one day there's a mix-up at the school, and her notebook that she loves to write things in goes missing. One of her classmates gets it, and they read all of the things that Harriet wrote down about them. And as you can imagine, they began to ostracize her because of the terrible things that she's saying about them. That makes sense. Now, this is the part where the story goes off the rails, because you would think that once her friends started disliking her because of the things she said, that she would change her ways, that she would find a way to make it up to her classmates and try to get back on their good sides and ask for forgiveness for all of the things that she said. No, that doesn't happen. Harriet gets a new notebook and she continues to write awful, terrible things about people. Now, I decided that I would post my thoughts on Reddit. And as you can imagine, because this is a beloved children's book, people did not agree with my take. They said that this was in the 60s, or she's possibly neurodivergent. None of those things excuse the fact that Harriet is a bully. She is a terrible bully who, when she didn't get her way, proceeded to bully people even more. And when you get to the end of the book, there is no lesson. There is no growth in this character. She is still a mean, terrible bully. In fact, there's at one point where her parents take her to a therapist to try to figure out why she is so angry and why she is doing all of these things and why she's treating the cook the way that she is and throwing the tantrums and doing the things. And the therapist comes up with a plan, and one of those plans is for her to write for the school newspaper. And so, what does she do when she writes for the school newspaper? She talks about what a terrible place her teacher has to live in, not as a way to draw attention to get better improvements for her teacher, better living conditions for her teacher. No, she just wanted to point out the fact that her teacher lived in a dump. And she proceeds to write and tell all the terrible things about the people in her town in the school newspaper. She has this platform on which she could do good things, and she proceeds to use it for more of her bullying. And there is a club that was started because the club was started. It was called the Spy Catchers Club or something along those lines. It was all of the kids who were in the notebook decided to start a club, and they left Harriet out. And because Harriet could not be in this club, she decided to use the school paper as a way to try to cause division in the club and basically split the club apart. So rather than accept responsibility for her actions and why she was being such a bully and a mean child, Harriet played the victim and then decided to tear all of the other friendships that had grown as a result of this, tear those apart. So at the end of the day, like I said, this was a hot take. At the end of the day, I cannot recommend Harriet the Spy. I don't know why. It is a beloved children's classic. I don't get it. I think it's a terrible book. Not terribly written, but I think that the characters in it are terrible, and there is nothing redeeming at all about this book. So, as a teacher who typically recommends middle grade books, this is one that I will not be recommending. Now, I won't actively stop one of my students from reading it if they want to, but I am not going to encourage them to read it. This is not a book that I will have in my classroom library. I spoke with my school librarian, and she has the very same thoughts that I do. Now, you could be saying, Jonathan, you are a 46-year-old teacher who is reading a book that was written 60 years ago. You're clearly not the target audience. And you're right. However, as a teacher, I want to encourage my students to make good choices. And Harriet would not be a literary role model. There are other girls who were messy and who were angry and did those things who demonstrated growth. I can think Ramona Quimby, for one. Ramona often found herself in situations similar to what Harriet did. And what did she do? She found a way to grow through those experiences and actually bolster her friendships rather than continue to be a bully. So there you go. That's my thoughts on Harriet the Spy. And I want to know down in the comments, do you agree with me? Do you think I'm correct in my assessment of Harriet? Or am I completely off base and this is a completely unhinged, wild take and I completely misread the book? Regardless, or whatever you think, leave those thoughts down in the comments. And hopefully next time, I will have a better take on a book for you to read. And on that happy note, my name is Jonathan. This is Mr. Pearson Talks Books. We'll see you next time, hopefully with something a little more positive than what this was.